Yeah. Something went wrong. Why? Oh no, we are live. Look at that. It says we're live, eh?
Yeah, it says live.
All right.
I think that's your chat.
Just a very interesting story about someone who had the patience and tenacity to work through their own health concerns via all avenues to get to a very, very good outcome. So it's worth sharing. So with that,
About the same time I started training here at Ruthless.
it's terrible marketing. But continue.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It was during every time you get it done.
Yep.
It's kind of odd. You walk in and you sort of lower your pants and bend over, and they just.
Some people pay good money for that treatment. But anyway, not Larie.
Stabbed more often, and I was finding that it was making everything really dull.
Yeah.
Like all of my emotions and my libido and interest in other people was really just like low and grey. I could really sort of like 2 to 12 weeks,
Right.
and you might get another one, sometimes a little longer for other people.
Yeah.
For me, it was getting shorter and shorter. Like
Right,
I was
right.
getting it 11 weeks, I was getting it 10 weeks, I was getting it.
Which is wild. And I've said this before, there's obviously loads of social problems that go along with a lack of birth control and stuff like that. But anyway.
It was like that dumb meme where you go to the doctor and you're like, are you experiencing any pain? And you're like, only the normal amount.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like, the normal amount is 0.
Yeah. yeah, exactly.
But I decided to come clean off it because I had been doing some reading about like a bunch of athletic women, especially in lifting, that use their menstrual cycle as part of their training. And
Yep.
they actually cater their lifting, like their block.
To like suppress your hormones and that's going to be in your system for so long. It's going to be extremely suppressive, just like any other hormone altering stuff. If you're on replacement therapy and you cut testosterone.
Yeah, what did I say? Doesn't
Close
matter.
enough.
Moving on. Got testosterone heavy on the mind. But it puts progestogen in the body, which suppresses ovulation.
Yep.
So it just kind of tricks your.
So you came off, you went natty.
Yeah, I went natty. And after a while, because it can take a while to get through is this a problem? And they're like, wait till a year and then we'll think about it. And I was like, okay, cool. So it went away again. And just kept going, doing my best. At this point, I was trying to manic almost. I'd be like, oh my gosh, everything's alive. I need a partner right now. And then it would just crash into like this heavy depression. And it would be like a 2-week cycle, and then like a 4-week cycle, and then like the ups and the downs were just so like fucking enormous. It was like, I can use my cycle to train. You're like, that'll be interesting, let you know how that goes.
Right.
But it just took like a fuck long time for anything to happen.
Can I quickly interject there?
Yeah.
So, just because someone will watch this and someone will ask me about it, absolutely.
Yeah. But no, I did read about
Yeah.
that. Like, you don't want to like shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I refer people to Dr. State.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were we at?
I met a doctor.
You're at a doctor? The
Yeah.
second doctor?
A second doctor.
Who was giving you traction?
Yes, we were getting traction. It had been about 14 months and I went in to see this doctor. All right.
Yeah.
And she ran like every test under the sun, because when you have something like that, like PCOS, which is what well, there's 3 criteria for PCOS. Is you could have like irregular cycle, could be too much, too little, or non-existent, or just completely wild. Too much androgens, which is
It's not live yet, but it will be. Ruled out everything. You had 2 of the 3? You have to have 2 of the 3?
You have to have 2 of the 3 to get the diagnosis, but they got to rule everything out, which takes a while.
Yeah.
So like, we started doing the test the day that I arrived there,
Yep.
and one of the first was after they ruled out all of it. I read this thing like 1,000 times, and every single time I'm like, look, it's not this. I sent her the thing. I researched on the thing. I researched on tainted products, and I was like, it's not that.
Anything like that?
Before I was on the depot,
Yeah, I suppose.
they weren't regular, but I had been convinced.
We've got the diagnosis.
We do.
What are you doing training-wise at this stage? Where are you? Is that after had you left here already?
I was still here,
Right.
still pushing through it.
Right.
The doctor had
Because training, from memory, it was a long time ago now, a couple of years, but from memory, training was tough and unpredictable, and I'm guessing, as well as the physical stuff that we're probably going to talk about a bit later. I guess a lot of that could be just lifestyle and mood related.
Oh yes.
So, yeah, from my perspective, trying to remember, it was very hard to weed out progress that should have been readily available.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, continue. So you're still training here, you've got the PCOS diagnosis now?
Yes, we had a diagnosis, and now me and my doctor were at the point where we were trying to see what we could do about it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you get diagnosed with PCOS and that's sort of it.
That's the start line, right?
It's a start line. You can't cure it or make it go away, but you can manage it.
Yep.
And managing it is, it's great. It's great.
It's great.
It's great.
Honest.
Yeah, I had a great time all the
Yeah,
time.
I'm happy.
So, after all of that effort trying to come off birth control, one of the best ways to manage PCOS is birth control.
Yeah.
So, what I didn't know until this point was while I was on the depot shot, although I was very flat, it was actually partially maintaining some of my worst symptoms. Because at this point, I now had a collection of horrible symptoms. I had daily nausea.
Yeah.
I'd wake up feeling nauseous. I'd go to bed feeling nauseous. I had headaches and migraines and the violent mood swings that were just getting more and more chaotic. And so one of the ways that you can help me manage PCOS is birth control. So we gave it a go.
So depo or
No, there's
oral?
a medical one.
Oh, right.
It's oral. It's a combo pill, but it's like a high strength.
Okay.
It's like sort of targeted for people with health issues because it helps with like the excessive acne, hair loss, and hair growth that you get when you have too many man hormones in your body. I'm not gonna tell you stories about that, but it's not a great time.
Yeah.
So,
but those things are common symptoms, and they're things that potentially should be more well known to look for, so you at least have clues.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, you start growing like a little mustache or like a little like dark hair lawn on the inside of your thigh. Like that might not be okay.
Yeah.
That might be a sign that something's wrong.
Worth looking into.
Yeah, or if you still have hardcore acne and you're an adult like I get, like that's actually not right. That's a sign that there's something wackadoodle like either in your hormones or your diet, and that can actually be fixed.
And they're fairly interrelated as well.
Yep. Yeah.
And we'll get to that, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay.
So
cool.
we tried a pill. It's called Gannett.
A what?
Like Gannett, Ginet.
Yep.
Gannett. I think it's like potato.
Didn't work, worked. You're obviously not on it now.
Oh no.
Yeah.
We tried it. You got to try it for 3 months because that's sort of like how long you'll know at that point.
So at the moment, we are how long into this fucking process?
Right there.
Nearly 24 months, surely?
We're at 18 months.
Yeah, right.
18 months we're trying a birth control pill to help manage the symptoms.
This is 18 months of consistently trying to improve mood and performance and all this kind of stuff. So this is why this is such a great story, because it's you need to keep going, and it's fucking great that she did. Anyway.
So the pill, it did 2 things. One was it cleared up my acne.
Yeah.
I had beautiful skin for probably like the first time since I was a little girl. I had just spotless radiating skin. It was wonderful. I wasn't growing a mustache anymore. That was also very cool.
Yeah.
The
I
second,
liked your moustache personally. But anyway,
Oh.
continue. I thought it made you look quite defined.
Aww.
Yeah, distinguished is the word I was looking for. Unique. Yeah.
The second thing it did was it made the mood swings and the nausea tenfold worse.
Right.
Like it wasn't manageable. Nicki Minaj would come on the radio. It would bring me to tears. I would be crying. Nicki's on the radio rapping, being not okay, and I'm like, it's so beautiful. It was trash. And the nausea was tragic. It wasn't okay. Like I took days off work.
Yeah.
I'd wake up in the morning. Like, the job I was in was still the same shitty, stressful job, but, like, the boss, because I'd been there so long.
Was this that fucking, I won't say it, but was this that fucking one that you were at for a period of time and you were...
This one I got injured at.
Quite soul charged, like that one?
Yeah.
Cool. That wasn't a good place.
No.
From my perspective.
The guy who runs it is great, like, as a person, but the business itself doesn't function well for its employees. Just in case he ever sees this, I do appreciate you. You know I didn't enjoy working there, though. We talked about that often.
All right.
But he would let me take days off if
Yeah.
I woke up and I had a migraine and I felt nauseous and like everything was not okay and Nikki was on the radio. I'd take the day off. I just had to. Like, it wasn't manageable. It wasn't something I can work through. I can work through a lot of shit, you know.
Yeah.
And then, like, at 2 months, because you got to give it a little bit of go, because
Yeah.
once you put, like, Isganet is, like, progesterone and estrogen.
Yep.
So that's what my other one was lacking, was the estrogen element, because that's quite low. You need sort of both to sort of help balance out, and the idea is it makes you more regular. It brings, like, down the estrogen levels, so, like, there's less crazy imbalances. So you got to give it a little bit of time to sort of, like, equalize. And
Yep.
at 2 months, I gave up.
Yep.
And, like, it was just getting steadily worse.
Yep.
I knew 3 months was the mark, but I knew that it was just getting worse.
Right.
I talked to the doctor, and she's just like, it's literally doing the opposite of what it should be doing for you. And I was like, I know. I noticed that, yeah. I was like, no, fuck it. Fuck it. My doctor had a big talk to me about stress levels.
Yep.
So we ruled out medication. I decided after depo, after this pill, I was fucking done.
Yep.
I don't want to put any more pills or anything into my body anymore because I didn't like anything that had been happening. It wasn't a good time, and honestly, I deserved better.
Yep. Nice.
And so we started talking about alternative avenues.
Yep.
And she said, look, your stress is going to aggravate the situation. And, like, everyone has stress in their life, and not everyone knows how to manage it. Like, for some people, just gymming is enough to bring the stress levels down. But for other people who maybe gym physically, but mentally they still work on their life problems, like, then the gym doesn't really help that much. Me, I'm a thinker. I'm an overthinker. I love to think creatively and detrimentally to myself. So I loved gymming, and I loved coming here and trying to, like, focus as much as I could physically and mentally here. Like, I couldn't bring my stress levels down.
It wasn't sufficient for an outlet in that regard.
No.
No, it's a good thing to become aware of as well.
No. Yeah, well, yeah. But I think I realized that unbalanced hormones fucks you up, but stress does just about the same amount of damage. And I decided to switch tracks and focus on what I could do for stress management.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to learn more about, like, how I react and how I think to things, and, like, what was making me stressed. And, like, after all this sort of, like, talking back and forth between myself and occasionally my sister and my doctor, I decided that it was that one job was the thing that was overfilling the cup of care. was like the last straw on the camel's back, and I just needed to change jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going to be my stepping stone to sort of getting better in the head, was just changing things that weren't going to get better for me, and that job wasn't going to get better for me. And I'd stayed for so long because I was too loyal.
Yep.
And I stayed even though it hurt. It was
Later, Baz. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I decided that maybe I would try and change jobs
Mm-hmm.
as like the first step, and that was terrifying for me. I don't do change well at all. I think I might have mentioned this the other month.
Yeah. And I think, is that, did you actually get another job, or is that when you decided to fuck off?
There was a crossover. I was looking for work here.
Yeah.
I was looking for jobs here, but one of our other gym members, George, was fucking off on an adventure.
Yeah.
He's from the UK, so he originally came here on an adventure but got stuck here for lockdown. And then he's just like, right, lockdown's over, I'm going on an adventure. And like sold his car, sold everything he had, didn't really have that much money, no plan at all. He's like, I'm going to Australia. And I was like, okay. But first I'm going to go to the South Island, and I'm going to do a tour of the South Island, and then I'm going to go to Australia. And I was like, okay.
And that seemed crazy to you at the time, right?
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. He's just like, you should come with. And I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, yeah, no, we'll come with. He's just like, no, really? And I was like,
Because I remember me and you had a conversation. I can't remember fucking why or how it came about, but I'm pretty sure we were talking, and you'd come to the realization that you're an adult and you can actually do whatever you fucking want. And I believe it was quite a short turnaround. You sold your shit and fucking gapped it, which was super cool, super fucking cool. Like, but it was like one week you were like, I live here. This is, this is me. And then you're like, bouncing to the South Island. I'm gonna fucking see George.
yeah, I'll do it. I'm an adult. I
Yeah.
can change my life. I can do it. I'd just been stuck in this mentality that I had to play the hands I was dealt. And then I realized I could just flip the table and go find a different game.
Yep.
So I did. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get another job. Absolutely, that's going to help my stress levels. I just decided to just fuck off somewhere else for the job as well. So yeah, no, I did. I spent a month looking, like, getting ready to go.
Yeah.
And my family and my friends, because they knew me really well, they thought I was fucking with them. They were like, oh, she's not actually going to do it. That's not going to happen. And it was like when I had a week left to go and I'd sold most of my stuff and I had gotten my car ready to travel. It was when my sister, who I lived with, was like, oh, she's going to go.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, oh, okay, all right. And I went. I removed myself from the situation. Because I think what did the immediate click around was I was finally settled on the idea of getting a new job to help my head. But I didn't feel secure enough to get a new job in the same city as my old job, because I felt like there was still going to be a gravitational pull to help them out when I could.
Yeah, right.
It was still going to weigh me down, so
Fair enough.
I just like threw it all to the wind and fucked off. But the funny thing is by the time I got down there, George decided he wasn't going to work there anymore. He was going to leave the country. So I saw him once in Christchurch.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd been there for a month, and I went over to Christchurch to catch him once, and then he went to Australia. And I was just like, fuck you. You got me down here, but you're not down here, but whatever.
You know what? I hope George watches this.
Yeah, George.
And George can go fuck himself because he's actually a good skater.
He is.
Fucking motherfucker. Yeah.
He taught me while I was in
Did he
Christchurch.
teach you how to 360 flip?
He tried to teach me how to do like the one where you flip that way.
Yeah.
Not around the world, but like that
The
way.
round the world one is the motherfucker. Fuck the fucking tray flip, and he can.
Yeah.
So yeah, get fucked, George.
He taught me how to drop into the skate ball.
Oof.
Yeah, I was terrified as like a grown adult looking down a slope because I could bomb a hill on a longboard, but something was terrifying about a skateboard on a bowl, and I was like, there were little kids next to me trying to hype me up, like 6-year-olds going, "You can do it! Come on! Don't be a pussy!" It was just like fucking audacity. I did it, and all the little kids like cheered for me, and I felt great.
That's good.
We're so getting off track. Moved to the South Island.
Yep.
Very remote place. Got a new job on the coast making coffee.
Yep.
And my stress levels dropped immensely.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of time span did you notice a significant drop in stress, and what did you notice when that stress dropped? What are some markers for you that you're highly stressed?
I'm terrible at knowing when I'm stressed. My body will actually
Most people
attack
are.
itself.
Yeah.
Like, it will physically cause me harm when I'm stressed to let me know I'm stressed.
Yep.
Or I'll just suddenly burst into tears and they're like, "Why am I crying?" So
a lot of people are really not in tune with their bodies.
yeah.
Because they accept that feeling like garbage is just how you get through, and it doesn't necessarily work like that to your advantage.
Yeah, but it took me ages to learn how to notice when I was starting to feel stressed. I learned it while I was away because the stress levels came down to a low. I stopped trying to get somewhere on time.
Yeah.
Like down there was really good. It was slow time. I'd go to the township where the supermarket and the gas was once a week to get gas and food, and then I'd come back to the middle of nowhere and it just settled. I had a hammock in my backyard. I'd do some work, I'd sling some coffee, I'd come back, I lie in my hammock, I'd do some reading, and then I just noticed after a couple of months, it's rough to settle in an isolated place like that. The locals are mean until they decide they like you. But even without the locals liking me, just being there, it was still low season because the tourists hadn't come back, so I had all the tourist spots to myself.
Yep.
And I'd take a cup of coffee to the Pancake Rocks and I'd watch the sunset by myself with the blankie.
Yep.
And it was really nice. And just after a couple of months, I realized I was feeling untangled. And that was at sort of 2 months I had my first sort of period.
Right. Yeah.
And me and my doctor went over the internet. It was just one, and it was pathetic, but it was a sign that my stress levels had dropped low enough that my body could try and do something.
Because now this is a little off topic. It's not really, but I speak about our body doesn't want to thrive necessarily in unideal conditions, and the same goes for muscle growth. I mean, it's all muscle growth is obviously aligned with hormones, so it's the same sort of conversation. But we're not going to slap on quality muscle in unideal situations because our body has to survive sometimes, and it also other times ideally it thrives. When we're in a high stress scenario, it doesn't want to procreate. It doesn't want to do anything positive. It just wants to fucking get you through it. And I think what's happening now is your body is realizing it can fucking chill a bit and begin to thrive, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't perfect. I still had a diagnosis that was still fucking me up. But I think moving away from that job gave me some room to breathe. I stepped back from training I realized in my head I just needed to clear the table of everything, sort my shit out, and then start stacking things back up.
Yep, smart.
So when I started feeling a little bit better after a couple of months, I started traveling into the Greymouth gym once or twice a week, and that was exciting. Once summer got into its peak, I didn't want to go into town because it was quite a far away. It's sort of a 45-minute drive through a 100k zone.
Yep. So
it was a bit of a trek to get over there. There wasn't actually much there. Once we hit summer and peak time, I finally made some local friends and we were doing stuff. We were going on walks, we were having bonfires on the beach, we were having lots of music jams at people's houses and by the river under a tent kind of thing, and I was feeling fulfilled doing that, so I didn't stress about trying to get training back on track.
Yep.
I just focused on trying to feel happy and relaxed, and when I was sort of at that mellow state, I started to sort of assess where I was physically, and I still had a lot of chaos from the diagnosis, but my head was clear enough that I could come up with a new plan, and that's when I started looking at what I was eating.
Yep.
I started trying out a bunch of different diets, and
What what chaos did you have? When you say you had a lot of chaos, tell me what you mean.
I still had nausea.
Yep.
Do you want to go fight them?
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I want to. Yeah, that's the androgens. Continue. I want to fight you, but yeah.
You would lose.
But I understand. You might not have the androgens anymore. I might have a chance. Anyway.
No, I still had mood swings. They were pretty rough. I still had nausea. It was a little manic. I didn't have headaches as much, I think, because the stress levels had dropped.
Yep.
So it wasn't as bad, but I still had issues, and I still wasn't feeling okay.
Yep.
Still sort of feeling weighed down. It was just like I was floating enough I could have my head above water at this point, but I wasn't like...
Sweet.
Wasn't thriving.
Yep.
Actually, one of the worst symptoms of PCOS is when they're chaotic. They're the same as pregnancy symptoms.
Right.
So being like this new person in an isolated zone, having a flare-up of PCOS symptoms, obviously the first rumor that started about me was that it was a new girl working in the cafe that was
really?
pregnant.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
How many people were in your township?
I wouldn't even call it a town. God, there's just like a splattering of
Everyone knows
batches.
everyone around there though, right?
Yeah. So it was like a gossip tree. So
Yeah.
people who didn't know me yet knew me as the new girl at the cafe who was pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. The worst part was it was my boss making the joke, and I knew he was joking, but he made it in the cafe, and I was like, can you not make that joke in public, because people will hear it and run with it, and run with it they did. And I came back to him, I was just like, look at the fucking shit you've started. And he was just like, it's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So looking at your diet,
Looking at my diet.
tell me.
Well, while I was training here and while I was getting all through this diagnosis, I had a pretty generic diet, like trying to get in lots of protein, like trying to have unprocessed carbs, but like lots of them.
Yep.
So like not white bread, but like lots of like wholemeal bread and like kumara and like what I would class as good carbs, but a lot of them.
Yep.
And I didn't really think anything of fats. It was sort of like I focused on carbs and protein, and the fats just sort of came in the way of like avocado, and I like to cook everything in butter, so like butter. So they were just sort of like floating around there by themselves.
Yep.
And I started looking at, because I ruled out everything else, whether what I was eating, because I did more research, because I'm a fucking nerd, that what you're eating can affect how you're feeling, your mood-wise, and you can use your diet to help treat and manage like hormonal imbalances, like even for mental health, you can use it to help sort of make things a little bit better. Like there's diets catered out there to assist you with ADHD and like hormonal conditions like mine.
Look, man, there's a from my experience, and from what I've heard from others, there's a huge disconnect between healthcare and holistic healthcare. And what I mean by that is looking at your lifestyle factors before pharmacology. It seems to be straight to pharmacology as opposed to, what's your food like? It's as simple as that. I think there's avenues that should be addressed first. Hey! Fuck up! There's things. Well, I fucking don't know where I am now. Like you go to the go to the doctor. They will. Fuck, man. Even if you tell them you're trying to lose weight, they'll give you drugs to lose weight. It's fucking nuts. It's fucking. It's not good. But also, I do not believe. Again, from my experience personally and others that I've spoken to, that the GPs they're not there for that. But people don't know what other avenues they can go to. So, but we'll get there. We'll in this conversation, you'll enlighten what avenues can be looked at to manage a lot of things.
Yeah, well, for sure. Like after we tried like sort of traditional hormone therapy for PCOS. And I said, I don't want to do that anymore. My doctor swept that off the table and started giving me like non-medical options, like even her personal opinion.
That's great.
Like when I told her I was decided to fuck off, she was like, it's perfect. Let me just run this one last test before you go, like to clear me to fly, to make sure it wasn't this one thing.
Right.
I think it was checking my cortisol levels to see if I had like a stress condition.
Yeah, I was when you've been talking about all the stressing, I was wondering if cortisol was part of the panel you initially got. But yeah.
We ran all the tests. She ran everything that she could under the sun. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
I think the only test that I didn't like was, I already had my diagnosis, 2 out of 3 criteria, but just for shits and gigs, we did the third one, which is checking for cysts, which is not a good time. Like, they check for cysts. Like, you know, when you get an ultrasound, would you get an ultrasound to see how your baby's going or to check your uterus or internal organs? They put like this little gel in the thing on the outside. That's cool, that's fine. When they check for cysts, they put one up.
Yeah.
Big old wand, and they put it up and they shove it around like a gear stick, and then they push down on you and squiggle it around. At one point, I almost bent over and threw up. God.
Yeah.
All in the past, a really bad dream. Don't know, I was somewhere beautiful, in a low-stress job, and just surrounded by fucking nature and good vibes, and I started looking at my diet, and one of the things I found was, I found lots of things about what you could do to help reduce, like, mental health issues and this, that, and the other thing. I tried a vegan diet, and I saw some improvement there, and I thought, oh, that's nice. I tried, I think, a vegetarian diet, and then I was sort of feeling better, just, I think, being somewhere where you couldn't get a lot of takeaways, and a lot of this and a lot of that, and I didn't buy a lot of bread.
Yeah.
I was starting to sort of feel a little bit better, not best, but better, and then I touched base with a homeopath who lived up in Westport. So I was in Punakaiki in the middle of nowhere. Greymouth was below us being a shithole, and then Westport was above us being a surfer's paradise.
Yeah.
And I met a homeopath up in Westport, and I had a couple of meetings with her, and she designed an eating plan for me.
And you might be able to fill in this blank. So homeopathy is holistic alternative medicine. Would you say it like that?
Holistic.
Not even is it not simply alternative medicine?
I would say just holistic alternative medicine is cool.
Yeah.
So it looks at, they don't give you pills, but sometimes you get remedies.
Yeah.
And remedies like come in like 1,000 different forms, and a lot of them are frequency adjusted and come from strange sources. Like there's this thing that you can fight poison with poison.
Yeah.
If you use small doses of poison, your body understands and starts fighting the poison, and like a little bit of a poison can actually be a healing.
Is this the snake venom?
It's snake venom.
Yeah.
I'm on the snake venom. I'm on snake venom.
She's not joking, I don't think.
Snake venom.
She told me some stuff she was taking, and I googled it, and fucking snakes come up.
When I looked into the background of the homeopathic source, it was
yeah, there was nothing else that came up. It was fucking snake
venom.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they always use poison. They don't always use poison, but like
that was just one of the things, right? So
Yeah.
you had some consults with the homeopath.
Yes.
And what was the trajectory to get to where you are now?
So when you see a homeopath, they don't just look at what's physically wrong. They look at your lifestyle and your moods and what you're eating. They look at all of you as a person. They do big questionnaires. They figure out how you behave, how you act, what things make you feel like which. Sometimes they even dive back into like some childhood behaviors. So they really understand you as a person and your problem, and then they give you a solution. And it's trial and error. Normally it's sort of like, they know it's this ballpark, so they'll throw something in this ballpark and they'll sort of shimmy it around to find like the sweet spot. And so I got given food plan.
Yep.
She told me that with PCOS, one of the best ways to manage it and hormone issues like that is to reduce inflammation in the body by avoiding eating non-inflammatory foods, and that can help bring down the symptoms and manage. And she also gave me a remedy, which, yes, it was like venom, which is like a bonus side thing. So the food helps manage and makes me feel good. The food alone is enough to make me feel a lot better.
Yep.
The remedy on top is a holistic medicine that makes me even feel better.
So the food, to clarify, regarding the inflammation and such, from my understanding, you're essentially going low FODMAP?
Pretty much. It's sort of, I think at this stage, because I was sort of eating on this food plan for about a year. It has been about a year now.
Sure.
No, 10 months now.
Yep.
And I've sort of found like organically the hard lines.
Yep. Right.
I'm now like aware enough that I can tell that this food makes me feel worse.
Yep.
This mood makes me feel more awesome.
Yep.
So while I have this eating plan, I'm not strict on it. It's like
Yep.
I'm self-aware enough that I can sort of tell what foods make me feel better.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't eat bread. I have keto bread.
Yep.
So I avoid wheat and grains like entirely, and I can still have meat. Like if I was being super strict, there'd be no red meat, but I can eat it and it doesn't make me feel terrible. So that's in my diet. But I normally have a lot of fish and chicken and fatty foods and lots of butter.
Yeah.
Don't like milk. Got that almond milk with the 10 grams protein in it at the moment. That's pretty bomb.
Sweet. And some of the things, like, so when you go off that plan, when you eat things too much, those symptoms come back, right? And because you're feeling good, they're probably quite harsh. There's a bit of a turnaround, right? So what symptoms come back when you eat grains or something adverse to what you know? What symptoms come back? And what's the turnaround time?
My cheat food is always like a gas station pie. I cannot resist. If I feel like shit and I need comfort food, I will go and get a gas station or like a dairy pie.
Yeah.
And I actually did this the other day, so I can tell you fresh off the bat what happens. I had a pie and a sausage roll in one sitting. Tragic. I knew it was not going to go down well, and the next day, the whole of the next day, I was sluggish. All my brain fog was back. I was so tired, and I had nausea the whole day. Like, I just felt like shit on a stick.
Yeah.
And it normally, like, one meal like that normally wouldn't send me off the edge, but I ate so much in that one comfort food sitting. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be a good time. If I ate, like, shit for, like, a few days, it would take me sort of, like, 2 weeks of eating good to sort of regulate out again, because you gotta like clear all that shit out of the body. Like it hangs around.
It's a remarkable turnaround time. It's fucking hectic.
Well, it's fine. I mean,
that's fine.
You
I'm happy.
You crave these foods because you're used to them, but when they stop feeling good, they stop tasting good too, and like they don't bring me joy anymore. Like I will still cave for a gas station pie. I know the consequences, but I will do it because for me it's worth it.
Yeah.
But bread, could not give a fuck about. Even potatoes, which were like the love of my life. I'm not like pining for it anymore.
Interesting.
It doesn't feel good.
Interesting.
Now that I know what good feels like, I don't want to go back.
So, you found nutrition that works really well for you, and you've been training again.
I have been training.
And you've been getting good results.
I have been getting great results. Yeah, I think.
So this is quite interesting to me.
Yeah.
So, tell me. Tell me about the training. You've sent me your training.
Yeah.
It's normal training.
It's normal training. There's nothing too heavy about it yet.
No, it's normal training. For the desire of putting on muscle, right, and staying strong and shit like that, getting strong.
Yeah.
We don't have to delve into that, but what was remarkable to me is you sent me some topless pics.
With the bra, sports bra on.
Yes, I was getting there. I wasn't lying. Hey, they're all friends here.
He paid Right, just to clarify, they weren't for free.
Nothing's for free. Anyway, topless pics. And you've put on a fantastic amount of muscle like that, and obviously that was going from when you were untrained again to now, but remarkable, and that's essentially on not too many calories, right?
No.
I mean, for someone your size,
Yeah.
it's reasonable.
I'm
But
5'4".
It's not fucking.
Oh.
It's not mountains of food.
No, and I think one of the things I realized is that I can't force feed myself too much food. Like, it's not like a mental thing, it's like I just physically can't. But with this new diet, I'm finding it's easier to increase my calorie intake. It doesn't make me feel like shit for starters. I don't sit down at my meal and start crying, which I had done in the past. There were meals that were abandoned because I made this glorious feast. I put it down, I sat down in front of it, I looked at it and I just cried and left. But I don't feel like that with my current food.
That's positive.
That is positive. I have like a healthy relationship with what I'm eating because I want to eat it. It makes me feel good, therefore I want to continue eating it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking wild. And that's a testament to your body actually functioning well in itself now.
Yeah.
The nutrients you're intaking are actually getting uptaken and put to good use.
Yes.
Which is a fantastic baseline to actually be able to add calories slowly over time and get more out of them, rather than just feeling sick and
feeling sick and shit.
sad.
Yeah, and like your head feels so foggy and weighed down, and you don't realize how bad it is until you like start eating well. You change like your diet and like you change your lifestyle, and you suddenly have like a clear thought and a clear mood, and then you're like, oh fuck, like what the hell was I doing back then?
Yeah.
Like when I was like sort of at my peak.
Yep. Peak athletic performance.
Peak athletic performance here back in the day. I weighed 72 kgs.
Yeah.
I was sort of trying to cram like 1,900 calories in of like a generic diet.
Yeah.
I felt like shit.
Yeah.
There were a few sessions where I quit halfway through. There were a few sessions where I walked in, I warmed up, started crying and I left. And that was nothing to do with me not wanting to train. I wanted to train so badly. It was just like I wasn't there.
Yep.
Like mentally I was all over the place. Hormonally I was fucked up like elsewhere, and like I couldn't. Like I wanted to so bad, and the thought that I couldn't just aggravated the fact. And I left.
Compounds, man.
Yeah.
Compounds.
And like at the moment I've been training for almost 3 months.
Yep.
I've been putting on muscle. I was down at 58 kgs, and I'm sort of like through like lifestyle here, which isn't the bestest for me. Like I put on like a little bit of muscle and a little bit of extra fat, and I'm sort of sitting around 62, 63.
Yeah, all right.
So it's like I'm putting on like an extra couple of kgs. Like I like to think most of that's muscles, because that's what it feels like. And my intake's sort of like still around like 19 calories, but like it's lighter. Yeah. Like the food that I eat, you don't have to eat as much.
No, and that's what we were talking about the other day. Like because carbs have become a lot less dominant in your eating, and fats are higher, actually getting less food per gram, like more calories per gram of food. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which is great. You don't have to force feed yourself and feel sick.
I know.
It's perfect.
It not only does it make me feel good, but I just don't have to physically eat as much.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's some like mental scarring from like growing up, or if that's just like my body just doesn't want to consume that much food. But I think it's really good option if you do struggle to get your calories. Maybe look at your ratios and your diet to see if there's a better way to get them in.
Yeah. I think it's tough. I think you should, if you do have, so let's say you're a healthy, normally functioning person.
What's that like?
Yeah. No, exactly. There's this, like let's say everything's in line, to create new tissue, we need appropriate calories, energy, and all that kind of shit.
Yep.
But if you're in whatever way dysfunctioned in terms of your eating, whether it be a eating disorder in itself, a medical condition such as yourself, throwing calories at it isn't going to work. Nothing, when your metabolism and your hormones and they're interrelated, it's all fucked up. Step back, go through what you've done, and that's been a fantastic showing of self-worth, to be fair, to go through this entire fucking process. And you're still going through it. It's never going to end, I'm guessing, right?
No.
But to go through this problem-solving fucking 2 years, right?
Yep. 2 years. About
2
2
years.
We're sort of maybe about 3 years now, 2.5
Yeah.
since we started trying
right.
to change ourselves for the better.
Yep. Remarkable. That's the take-home point here is, if things aren't working, you need to take responsibility for your own health. You can't expect to go to your healthcare provider and them to do it for you. They're part of your journey. You need to work with them. It's up to you to look after your own health. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would also add that if you do have an issue, being aggressive about getting medical help
Yep.
is good.
Nice.
Like, I was lucky I found a great doctor the second time.
Yep.
Some people bounce around doctors trying to find someone to care or take them seriously. And I was really lucky that I found it on the second time.
Yeah.
And
that is an important thing. Just like any profession, just like any coach, physiotherapist, doctor, you'll find the one that works for you. You'll find the right person for you. Don't accept that your one doctor fucking goes, nope, drugs, birth control, this is your option. Not accepting, and what you said, being aggressive with your not taking no for an answer, continuing to progress down the path of improvement is what you have to do.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I mean,
fantastic point.
don't be mean to your doctors, but like, be assertive. Like,
they're there to work for you.
even
right?
after, because that marvelous doctor, who I'm gonna leave unnamed, helped me through all of that, and I went away on my little soul-searching adventure in the South Island. I think I must have made her just so like jealous and happy, because she also left the practice to go and spend quality time with her family.
Really?
Yeah,
Funny.
she took time away from her work
Yeah.
to spend more time with her family, kind
That's
of
good.
thing. So when I went back for a checkup after moving back or visiting back up,
Yeah.
because at one point I had to get nausea pills
Yeah.
from the hospital in Greymouth. So when I was up here, I think I might have got like some more, or some eczema cream or something. Something
Right.
about being up here fucks me up. It's too stressful. Bah, bah, bah. But I saw a different doctor.
Yeah.
But because I'd already gone through all of this effort with this other doctor, like I arrived, you only get a 15-minute session. So I arrived and I laid it out flat and straight. And I'm like, here's what's happened. Here's what we've done in the past. Here's what I won't do. Here's how it's going. Here's what I need today. Like, ask me anything kind of thing. Also, could you like run these tests just so I can stay up to date on myself? Like,
Nice.
not in a mean way, but just like be like
No, that's you.
assertive.
That's you taking your. They're not there to like. That's you taking responsibility. They see fucking how many people per day. You're 15 fucking minutes of their day. You're you're all of your own life. You have to take responsibility for it. Their 15 minutes is. That's what I mean. They're there to work for you, and you had the history and experience to understand your own health. And talk to the doctor
Yeah.
who's qualified to make those decisions for you, or with you to give you what you need or want or fucking whatever.
Give you what you need. Mostly tests, I think it was that time.
Yep.
Which was really nice, because they run a blood panel test, and I was like, can you test for all of these things so I can see if they've improved after like 10 months of eating this way, and can you like do the hormones panel again, which they have to send to the Waikato, and they test it there, frozen sent. They send my blood frozen away. It comes back like years later, a couple of weeks, and sort of like test sort of the results, and like nothing's gotten worse, Like I see a lot of things have balanced out. It's not like a crazy dramatic improvement. I'm not cured or looking normal levels, but like improved.
And your day-to-day living is much improved?
Oh, quality of life is like through the roof.
Yeah.
Whoa. If anyone tried to force feed me potatoes and bread, like they might receive like their own sandwich in the face in the form of knuckles. Like I don't want what that is. No.
Yeah. No, cool. Did you have any more
Thoughts?
things to share?
I think one of the most important things I got from all of this, it wasn't just about being self-aware of your body or improving your diet. It was just understanding that your mentality will affect like all of the parts of your life. Like if you want to train, what you're feeling is going to play a big part in it. And sometimes what you're feeling isn't up to you. It's not in your control. Like if you have a medical issue, sometimes your moods aren't in your hands. And that was so frustrating for me, knowing that I was feeling completely low and uninterested, like it wrecked a relationship. I had to end a relationship because I went and I had no interest in them. I didn't want to talk to them, didn't want to be with them. It was like they could have been a wall to me for all I cared. I'm like, that's not fair on them. And I was self-aware enough to know that this foreign feeling wasn't even in my control. And just knowing that sometimes your moods aren't in your hands, but you can still do things about it. And it doesn't have to be medicine. It can be lifestyle changes, and it can be your diet. I think just thinking about what you're thinking about is just as important as counting your macros.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to go hard in the gym is great, but like sometimes you're not going to be able to go hard in the gym if you ignore the rest of your life and your lifestyle. Like your job affects your training, your food affects your training, your mood affects your training. Like anything that's happening in your life is going to affect what you're trying to do physically.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was probably one of the most important revelations I had, is I can't just come into the gym and give it 100% all I have physically, because sometimes that ain't shit.
Yeah.
And nothing's gonna happen, and that's just gonna be frustrating.
Yep.
The only thing I ever felt I could creep up in here, which was deadlifts, which I feel once you've got the technique down, it's all aggression from there on out.
Yeah.
It's all aggression. You can use your willpower.
Aggression did work well for you.
Yeah, use your willpower to
Yeah.
get that deadlift up, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But with the other trainings and trying to grow muscles and
Yeah.
battling joint
Yeah.
issues, which is going to play into your job, your lifestyle, and your food. Sometimes it's not about being fully gung-ho in the gym, and that was hard lesson to learn.
Yep. Yep. And some people can't relate. Some people can't relate to what you just said. So that's why some people are lucky enough to be able to use the gym as an outlet, because they are available to do it. Their body is available to do it for them. That's you explained it really, really well.
Well, everyone gets a plateau every now and then, though, right?
Yeah.
Some people get stuck. I've seen some people get stuck, and they knew it was their head.
It's what you said is bang on. The entire that holistic view of your progress. There's a point you can get up to. Everyone can get up to a point, just by getting better at the movement, and that over time you're always trying to get better at the movement, getting better at doing it. But when you need physical properties that are going to allow those adaptations to happen. Your body needs to be functioning, your body and mind need to be functioning well and together to allow that to happen. Making progress outside of the gym is often the answer. the diet, the rest, the stress. The gym is the easy part. The gym is so easy. When you're fucked, the gym ain't easy because it sucks. It gives you that negative feedback. You feel like you're not making progress. It feels useless. And sometimes it is useless. To be fair, sometimes it is useless. You need to attack the things outside of the gym that you have attacked.
Which is hard for gym goers who exercise. Like even me, even though it didn't bring me stress relief, I exercised habitually.
Yep.
Like that was like my habit. So whenever I got an injury from work and had to take it easy, like I just wanted to like fucking throw my head through a wall.
Yep.
It's like I don't come here to take it easy.
Yeah.
I come here to talk shit and lift things.
And then when you are in those phases where you need to be developing other things, say outside of the gym, having someone to talk to frame expectations and have a bit of a pathway to help you through that in terms of in the gym work is very can be very enlightening. So you don't feel like you're isolated in this plateau by yourself.
Yeah.
Constructive ways to enjoy it while you're going through whatever other fucking shit you have to deal with, right?
I think the mental strength you need to train, especially in something as like hard wearing as powerlifting, where you're trying to like push yourself to your body's extremes, sort of ish. Like the mental strength you need to get there is not something I was aware of.
Right.
Like I knew, like we always say, be vicious, be deliberate, be ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
But we forget about the part where you like be mindful, look after yourself.
Yeah.
Like take some time, work on your head.
But the thing is, it's an interesting thing to bring up actually. Those words, they can be applied to the physical act of picking up, but they also need to be applied to the act of looking after yourself outside of the gym. And what you were just saying regarding when you go to your doctor, you need to be deliberate. You need to be ruthless.
Whoosh.
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely no different. Those words explain every facet of what we need to get in line to achieve what we want.
Oh.
Good point. That was nice.
Yeah.
Nice tie-in.
Mental strength.
Yeah. No, it is. It is.
I've been to a lot of different gyms. Like I've done boxing, powerlifting, bodybuilding, and just random fitspo, building ass chick stuff. And like I've met so many different trainers, and I've met so many different athletes and people, and I've found in like every single area, there's always this mental endurance you have to have. It's like there's going to be times where it's not going to be good, and you have to like have the knowledge to look after yourself in your head to get through it. Like when I was doing boxing and I got injured, and like boxing was what I lived and breathed sort of thing. Like if I was feeling bad, I'd go into the gym at 11 p.m. and like I'd just like do bag work for like an hour, just like blast it out, like work on my technique and like sort of let go of some like aggression kind of thing. But when you get injured, it's tough not being able to do the things you want physically, and just wherever you're doing strength or exercise or sports or stuff, you have to work on your mental strength. That's just probably one of the most interesting things I learned, because I always thought I was quite like mentally strong because I put up with a lot of shit, but I think I was just a bit mentally weak because I never removed myself or improved those situations. I just sort of like rolled with it, just sort of like barely above water. This is fine. I'm doing fine. The fact that I'm doing fine in this shit position means I'm so mentally strong. But mental strength would actually be getting the fuck out of there and finding a better place to stand.
That's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting, yeah. I like that.
You don't have to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a neat little revelation, that is. I think people can probably learn from that. Anything else, man?
I'm pretty sure I could waffle like a motivational speaker for hours, but I think we covered a lot of what I learnt over the years.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Did you learn anything from watching me spin in circles for a couple of years?
Heaps. Just watching someone go through that whole process was interesting, and so even though we weren't like Larie wasn't working directly with me or anything, she knows I'm a fucking nerd too, and was sending me updates every now and then, maybe. about what was going on and what she's been through, and I'd ask questions, and it was really, really interesting. And I guess I've learned heaps. I've never been through that myself. I've never known anyone who's been through it, particularly to this degree, particularly with the specificity of someone who has done powerlifting. And so it would give me the experience to perhaps identify and be able to have some of these conversations earlier with people and know what potential avenues they can get sent down.
Yeah.
And even send them to Larie. Talk to Larie, who could enlighten them further.
For women specifically, a large collection of the population uses birth control. And birth control will fuck you up to some level, and it's good to be aware of what it's doing to you and what you can do to counterbalance that. But also PCOS is actually pretty common too. That affects about like 10% of women in New Zealand, which is like a lot. That's like 1 in 10, right? That's a lot, and people might not be aware. They might just roll with it, like just slightly above water, this is fine. Yeah. I'm doing great because I'm in this shit situation, I'm feeling okay-ish.
Yeah, man, I'm sure loads of people, loads and loads. Yeah. You don't, do something about it. You're the only one who can. Take responsibility for your own health and improve it.
Yeah. And stay hydrated.
Fuck yeah. Was that you who wrote all that shit on the board over there?
Yeah. I wrote some shit.
It's been modified.
Yeah, that's my favourite part of this gym, is the board gets remixed, like every time somebody comes in. They add to it. Train hard, eat hard, be hard.
Someone wrote except for in a soft suit.
No, that's perfect. It's the best time. Let people know how hard you are. Be intimidating.
It's the androgens talking again. Cool. That's us, man. Thank you very much for doing that. This is really good. This has been cool.
Waffling's my passion.
Waffles are also my passion.
I can't even eat waffles.